Okay, well, let's go over to the south side of the bracket, south side, where we have Matt's number one pick, Baylor, to win it all. We got his Tar Heels in here. We have Winthrop, his 12-5 upset. We got a lot of interesting matchups here. We got Toothpaste up against Arkansas, down as the 3-4 matchup. Florida, they're dead to me because they lost to freaking Tennessee. They blew a 5-point halftime lead. That was stupid. And you got Oral Roberts versus Ohio State and Texas Tech, Utah State, Purdue, North Texas. What do you know? A bunch of more Big Ten teams.
So on this side of the bracket, I'm going to go with Matt and say Baylor is my pick. I think they're the best team on that side. They're my number 2 overall seed, and we just discussed it earlier. Really good at shooting the three. They don't even have to shoot a three to beat you. They can beat you inside, and they don't have to shoot threes. They can just shoot off the screen or anything. So they have a really talented team, and the athletes are just going to show. And I think it's going to be a matchup of they'll make it to the Final Four, and I might have them in my championship game. Haven't decided yet.
Yeah, I think they have one of the best scoring offenses in the country. They got a kid named Maceo Teague, who was a transfer my senior year in college when I was at Gardner-Webb. He was a freshman at UNC Asheville, and he dominated the court. I think he was a freshman of the year before he transferred. So it's going to be kind of cool to see him take it all the way potentially for Baylor. So we'll see. But, yeah, I think Baylor's the most talented team coming out of this side of the bracket.
Yeah, I agree with them. Baylor, as we mentioned earlier, I said they're the number 1 3 shooting team. So a 1 seed that's really good at shooting the 3 ball. I love that. And does anyone really want to talk about why there's a Toothpaste team in this part of the bracket? I've never heard of. And
they've only played 16 games.
People in my office were like, "Oh, you've never heard of Colgate?" They've been in a lot of these tournaments. They were in the 2019 tournament, but since before that, I think it was 08 was the most recent tournament. I had never heard of them. I never knew Grand Canyon was a team. And then what was the other one in the other bracket? Oral Roberts. Yeah, in this bracket. Who's Oral Roberts and why is he at college? Does anyone know that?
We talked about it today.
What was he? Was he like some war hero? Was he like a Civil War guy, or was he like the mayor?
Let me look this up.
Tom decided to name a team after himself.
Tom was telling me about him because I said I looked him up. It was
all we know is that Oral is not his real name. I think it's his middle name.
Granville
Oral Roberts.
But this is very interesting. In 1963, he founded Oral Roberts University in Tulsa, Oklahoma, stating that he was obeying a command from God. So now, are you going to pick against Oral Roberts when the school itself was a command of God to be created?
That is tough. And
you're
going against Ohio State, who's had a bunch of domestic issues with Ryan Day and all these different, or not Ryan Day, Zach Smith under Urban Meyer. It's the devil versus the angel here, and Oral Roberts versus Ohio State. Is there any actual storyline here besides potential biblical upset?
Current coach of Ohio State, former coach at Gardner-Webb, Chris Holtman. There's a stat line right there.
There you go. So G-Web.
G-Web's still in it.
Making some people famous. What I'm interested in is, so we've talked Baylor, Gonzaga, and Michigan. We'll still get to Illinois. I don't know. Do any of you guys know the stat? The number 1 seeds making it into the Final Four. What is it, 8 of the last 9 years? What, only 2 number 1 seeds per year have made it, or something like that?
There's never been more than 2, I believe.
8 of the last 9 years, or only 1 year more than 2 have made it, I think, over the last 9 years. Which I don't know the exact stat, so excuse me if I'm wrong, but I do think it's interesting how, you look at the stats, you look at the numbers, you look at whatever, the size, the rebounding, the assists, points per game, whatever it might be, and then March comes and it's just whatever team is hot, whatever team gets clicking. And Matt, I'm not just saying this to please you. I think North Carolina is an interesting team right now because, 3-point loss to FSU in what was a questionably officiated game, and they're hot at the right time. They're going up against Wisconsin, who is also battle tested. So this whole Baylor versus North Carolina, Wisconsin potential game kind of intrigues me a little bit from a standpoint of North Carolina and Roy Williams is a very experienced tournament team, and we've seen 8 beat 1s in the past. It's not like this would be anything crazy. We've seen it happen. I don't know if I want to call this that it's going to happen, but something's telling me that Baylor's not going to make it to the Elite Eight in this side of the bracket, to be honest.
I mean, it's definitely going to be a battle test for Baylor. North Carolina's the best offensive rebounding team in the country, the best rebounding team in the country. So I think for North Carolina, if they get the offensive rebounds, they get the second chance points. I think it's going to be a tough test for Baylor. It's going to be a good game. I just don't know how offensively North Carolina's going to play. They like to turn the ball over a lot at times, so we'll see. I mean, I have Baylor win it all, but I can't be mad if they lose North Carolina.
And, dude, hey, to be honest with you, UNC's holding opponents to 69 points per game.
Nice.
Nice. That's what you
Can't
like to
ruin
see.
that.
What's up?
Can't ruin that.
Can't ruin that.
Leave the stat as it is.
They'll hold Baylor to 69 right there. Boom. You'll have to see it. Well, anyone in the 1 through 4 seeds that you guys like outside of Baylor or including Baylor to make the deep run, is it going to be Baylor or you guys got someone else?
My pick is Baylor. If I had to pick somebody else, I like Purdue. Boiler up. No reason other than Purdue, boiler up, black and gold. Love it.
So I'll give you a reason. Here's my reason. I think Winthrop puts up a good test against Nova. In either way, I like Purdue against either of those teams simply because they have a lot of size inside. And if Baylor does end up getting upset in the round of 32, I think Purdue could maybe luck into a decent matchup in the Elite Eight or in the Sweet 16, excuse me. So to put some thought behind what you just said, yes, boiler up, but also I think, like we mentioned earlier, the rebounding teams I think do take precedent when it comes to March Madness, and Purdue is a very good team when it comes to that. I think they could be a team to look for to make a deep run. Anyone 5 to 16, Jacob, potentially that you like in this side of the bracket?
I think you almost have to kind of wonder what Colgate, even though I was making fun of them, is going to do, because I'm just as I was confused. I'm sure there's plenty of people confused on who they even were. And reading a little bit about them this afternoon, it's almost like we can't just write them off. They are 14-1. I mean, they basically played, I think it said 5 teams on their schedule, like just a mix of that. So they're almost kind of a mystery, but they're one of the top 3-point shooting teams in the country once again. So like, I love that kind of thing whenever you're playing against someone you shouldn't be playing against. It'll just be exciting to see what this mystery team, in my opinion, does, just because we don't have a schedule of norm. Like we were talking about Michigan State's schedule. They played all these teams. We know that they're battle tested. We have no idea what Colgate might do and what they might not do. So that's my intrigue team in this part of the bracket.
I like I'm going to stick back to the 12-10 guys I had in the Sweet 16. I do have my 12 and a 10 winning their first round games. Going to Winthrop, I think they can upset Purdue. Winthrop likes to push the pace. And by the way, they're 23-1. They've had one loss all season. And so they have a guy at point guard who's 6'7", who has 3 triple-doubles this season. And they have a guy who's 6'9", 275, a guy named DJ Burns, former Tennessee recruit. So I think watch out for the Eagles there. Then a Tennessee that Virginia Tech, Justin, you and I were just talking about yesterday against Florida. Florida's not a very good tournament team. And the Hokies are coming off COVID, but they're going to definitely be a sleeper, in my opinion.
I would like Florida if Keontae Johnson was still playing. I think the fact that he got injured earlier on in the season basically set the pace for Florida this year. Next year, watch out. I mean, this guy was supposed to be like SEC Player of the Year. I mean, this guy's really good. And then he ended up going to the hospital for a few days in a coma, I believe. Got better, but he hasn't touched the court, I don't think, since. So I think next year, watch out for Florida. Keontae Johnson will probably be a really good player for them. But I do believe Matt is correct. Virginia Tech's probably going to take that upset. And I also really like the Winthrop upset over Villanova. They're a 5 seed, but they have the Michigan trouble as well. They have a star player that is currently out for injury. So if you have a team that's 23-1 facing a team that got beat by the 8 seed in their tournament, and they were supposed to be the 1 seed in the Big East, and they have a star player that's injured, I believe Matt is totally correct. 12 and 10 seed, you make it out of the first round.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what Winthrop does. I think, I like the Ohio Bobcats in the first region we discussed. I think it was the West. But when it comes to 13 seeds, I think North Texas could be something to look at. But I also think Winthrop as a 12 seed might be the most favorable 12-5 matchup here. And there's something to be said about only one loss. I mean, we know it even coming from football. You don't luck into almost a perfect season. Like, anything can go wrong any time of the day, any given game. 23-1 is extremely impressive, and no matter what conference they're in, there should be other teams that could be able to beat them, and that's just not the case here. So we'll see what happens with Winthrop in this one. I think this might be another very intriguing one. I think we could see Virginia Tech. I think we could see Colgate. Utah State, I think, is the best 11 seed in the tournament, I want to say. North Texas could put up a battle, Winthrop, and so on from there. So, again, it's March Madness. Anything can happen.